Michael's contributions to American law are enormous, especially on the law of religious liberty.
I think he is the most important figure in the way American law thinks about religious freedom in the last 50 years.
You can trace the court's trajectory of religious liberty doctrine by looking at Michael's scholarship.
I don't know if there is any single individual who has done as much over their course of their career as a scholar, as an advocate, as a judge, to advance the cause of religious liberty for all. Michael McConnell entered the field of religious freedom in the 1980s at a time when the Supreme Court's jurisprudence on religious freedom was going wrong in multiple respects.
I got a position in the Solicitor General's office as a lawyer, which handles all Supreme Court litigation. At this time, the Supreme Court's doctrine of religious liberty was just in utter chaos. And in constitutional law, what attracts me intellectually is problems. It's when things are in a mess. And so I had the opportunity of litigating for the United States and writing briefs in a series of cases that were related and in which I was able to develop for myself a theory of the religion clauses and especially of the Establishment Clause. My early writings drew fairly heavily upon my thinking and experience in litigating those cases for the Department of Justice.
Michael McConnell, from the very start of his career, made the Free Exercise Clause a focus of his scholarship.
Michael wrote a piece called Accommodation of Religion that actually was the intellectual basis for a transformation in the way the Supreme Court thinks about religion.
I think Michael McConnell has helped shift the dialogue to a posture being much more welcoming to religion in the public square,
rather than having the Establishment Clause and the Free Exercise Clause be at war with one another. In addition to that, he did something that no one else has really done. He provided a robust historical account for why that's the right understanding of the clauses.
And he continued to work in that vein. And now he's joined by a whole host of law and religion scholars who see his work as seminal to what they do today.
He's been intellectually important, but he's brought these things to life as a lawyer. In most of the Supreme Court's cases over the last 40 years that have been important on the subject of religion, Michael has been a player either as a counsel for one of the parties or as an amicus.
So this is also one of my very favorite things. I don't know if you can see that very well, but these are my two daughters. They came to see the argument in Rosenberger versus University of Virginia. And I remember at the dinner table right afterwards, they said, "Daddy, the justices kept interrupting you," because we tried to teach them that, that it's not polite to interrupt. But of course, the justices can interrupt as much as they want to.
When I was clerking for Judge McConnell in Utah, one thing he did was take us on hikes. Because Michael did not select his clerks for hiking prowess, you would get a variable reaction to the hikes.
So one year, the law clerks at the end of their year gave me this as a memento of the year. It's a bobblehead, and as you can see, it actually looks a little bit like me, and that is a hiking stick.
There's a long tradition of walking being a good way to get to know somebody and also to teach, because Judge McConnell was doing that too. He would be getting to know his clerks, but he's also teaching and training us. He took very seriously as a judge who had been a professor that he had a classroom, and he had a classroom of 4 people, and he was very invested in each one of us.
Judge McConnell was really an exemplary member of the federal judiciary.
Place your hand on the Bible and raise your right hand, please.
What we found in the 10th Circuit when he joined the court, that not only was a a tremendous scholar, but he was a genuinely fun and fine human being. He was a great colleague to sit with. When Judge McConnell spoke about the First Amendment, those of us on the court would listen very carefully because of his reputation and the amount of work that he'd done.
It's very rare in the whole history of American law to find a person who has achieved real distinction in all three of the main branches of the profession: legal scholarship, the judiciary, and advocacy before the courts. Michael McConnell achieved that trifecta of distinction in a way that I don't think has been equaled by anybody in legal history in the United States.
And we would not even be equipped to fight right now if it wasn't for the contributions of Michael McConnell and what he's done to place us in this position where we can now articulate the arguments for why religious freedom is central to our history, it's central to our social order, and it's central to our future. And so we are in this moment precisely because Michael McConnell stood alone a long time ago to help us get here.